In Speaking with Gravity, I'm Kervin.
Jewel.
Joshua.
And I'm D.
And we are a mental health podcast that speaks on how everything affects everything, especially your mental health. I'm a therapist. It's not therapy that we're doing here. We're doing a podcast. And we just want to bring y'all information about things that affect you, mental health, and so on and so forth. So today we're talking about solution focus, and as we always do, we get into like a Twitter discussion, and eventually I'm gonna get to we have a guest here today, but we're gonna let her introduce herself. Well, you know what? I'll let you go ahead and do it now. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Her name is. You want me to give you a government name or just the name that the kids? Just whatever.
Whatever. It's
okay.
fine.
This is Jewel Norman, who is a school counselor, but I'm going to let her introduce herself. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm Jewel Norman. I'm a school counselor in Lawrence District 55, elementary school counselor. I've worked in this under this guidance umbrella for about 8 years, full-time school counselor for 2. Enjoy my job, love working with the kids.
And she's pretty all right, if I must say so myself. But we'll get back into that at a later date. So we usually do a Twitter discussion, QD an hour, and then an episode introduction to kind of get us into a little flow. And the discussion, Josh, you go ahead.
So Twitter discussion of the day. Research shows that most people complain once a minute. Wow. During typical conversation. Shift your mind from a negative position of constant complaints to the positive position of solution-focused through therapy. That's brought to us by Gravity Counseling Group. On Twitter.
Which is my private practice, by the way.
Which is Kervin's private practice, by the way.
Yeah.
Speak up a little bit, sir.
Oh, my bad. All right, research shows that most people complain once a minute. And I saw that like a couple of times.
I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it.
That caught my eye, which is why I put it out there on Twitter. But with that being said, that kind of leads into what I like to call positive psychology. Like, let's put a spin on it. Let's not do that. And then led me to talking about this today's solution-focused approach. The QD of the hour, doing a healthy mind study conducted by a Boston University researcher, 83% of students report their mental health negatively impact their academic performance within the past month. That's big.
Believable, too.
It is.
Why you say it's believable?
I think it's believable that when we talk about college students, we're talking about college students, right? Boston University
and this particular one is college students.
Yeah, I mean, college, that's when you're going through, you're just coming out of adolescence, or it's that adolescence. You're becoming yourself, right?
Yeah,
so
going into adulthood.
So I feel like so much is coming at you, from a mental health standpoint, that's a lot to unpack, right? And then if you don't have proper resources, I guess, to go to, it's definitely going to affect your mental health in a negative way.
I guess the number that get me is 83%. So that's 8 out of 10 people. 8 out of 10 people report that mental health negatively impact them.
But stress is a major factor in that. You go to college, you get stressed out, and then that negatively impacts your mental health. You don't eat right, you don't sleep, and then that leads to not being able to function properly as it pertains to academic performance.
Yeah. Okay. I get that. I'm just thinking, I keep looking at myself like, I'm not going to say I didn't have any stressors, but my stressors were related to me having a good time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, everybody going to this party, and I ain't got $5. $5 ain't going to get you into no party. But that was my stressor. It wasn't necessarily, and maybe because I wasn't at that time trying to make a 3.0 or 3.5. Like, I was good with a C. C's and D's equal degrees. That was my thought process at that time. Hope my kids don't watch that. But anyway, and I guess that's why I was just happy to be there. I was just happy to be in school and passing classes and continuing to get closer to graduation. So I don't know. I guess my outlook was just a little bit different. I was in that too. I was that 17% that was, you know what? As long as I'm here, I'm good. All right. So the introduction, the episode introduction.
Unlike traditional forms of therapy that take time to analyze problems, pathology, and past life events, solution-focused approach concentrates on finding solutions in the present and exploring one's hope for the future in order to find a quick and pragmatic resolution of one's problems. This method takes the approach that you know what you need to do to improve your own life, and with the appropriate coaching and questioning, are capable of finding the best solutions. This is an excerpt from Psychology Today.
Which kind of explains what solution focus is. And again, you know, when we're coming up with these episodes and when we're talking about various things, we want to put it out there so people understand what's going on when it comes down to therapy, what's going on when it comes down to mental health. And I hear different people talk about modalities. You know, what modality are you following? Modality being, what way do you deliver therapy? What way do you give it? And there again, with solution focus, I think of school counselors because there's a problem, let's fix it. Not necessarily everything that a mental health counselor would do outside of the school system. So that being said, I reached out to 2 counselors. One was able to make it. So putting it on you, what school counselors do? And when I was in school, we called them guidance counselors.
Right.
So
right.
What do they do? And when you talking now, you talking to somebody, grandma,
Right.
somebody,
right.
you know.
So,
what
you
they do?
know, we definitely prefer school counseling now because that guidance term it refers more to like vocational development, and that's not truly what we focus on now. I mean, we're in the schools, we're part of the leadership team making decisions for the entire school. We are implementing positive activities and things that's going to get the kids interested in school, providing a safe space for children to come and just have a conversation. My biggest thing every single day when I go into the building is to be a listener to children and making sure that they understand what school is for them and what their goals are, and then, you know, kind of helping them reach those things, obtain those goals.
What are you having to listen to? What are you having to listen to when you say listen to kids? Because you're in the elementary school.
Right.
Are you listening? Well, they don't
And
do
those are
burning
the
no
biggest
more.
talkers.
Really?
Yeah, because, I mean, they're not too bashful yet about things that's going on in their life. They don't know to be embarrassed about certain things yet. So they're more resilient in those types of ways because they just like want to come and talk and tell you everything, even things that they're not supposed to be telling you. But believe it or not, elementary kids, we're talking about why you should have impulse control, why you can't go in the room and do what you want to do, behavior management, you know, and making them understand that school is a place that you come to learn, but we also want you to have fun in learning, but there's appropriate ways to do that. And I also act as an advocate for students and their parents. Because a lot of times students and families, they need things and they don't even know what they need. So I'm that person, that liaison within the school that helps them find those resources.
As a parent, and y'all can chime in at any point, but when you say I'm there for them to talk to, as a parent, how can I set that up for my 8-year-old, my 14-year-old, my 15-year-old? Like how? And I know what I do, but I would just like to hear it from you. Like, how can I talk to them to get them to be able to share things with me? As we may be aware here, we had an incident within our community of an individual who seemed to have reached his breaking point to some degree, and he took some, he made some moves and some steps that we as a society would rather him not do. How do we open that space for him to be able to come, or how do I open that space for my kids to say, hey, come talk to me about X, Y, and Z, because I want to let you know I'm there to support you?
I think the biggest thing parents can do is be more transparent with their children. I think, older generations have always tried to say, do as I say, not as I do. You have to let them know that you've been there before, and that even though you might not have gone through exactly what they're going through, you can relate, or you've had a friend in the past that been through something like that. Because a lot of times I think kids think, my mom, my dad wouldn't understand. And part of that is because the parents don't. They try to close it off, and they want to hear good things from their kids all the time. They don't make a inviting space for them to be able to talk about the negative things in their life without judgment, and that's key.
And me and one of my friends was talking a little while ago. We said he made the statement, and he explained it. Josh, you're gonna like this one. Being a parent is so hypocritical. Because you know what you have done as a parent. You know the experience that you put yourself into, but you're not always willing to share that with your child to let them know, as you said, be transparent and let them know where you come from. I was speaking with my daughter the other day about some stuff that happened in college. I gave her the story, but I left some of the story out too.
Yeah. That's you got to give them a little bit of it now.
Is that wisdom? Is that lack of transparency?
I think
that's an argument. You say you think is wisdom.
Yeah, definitely. You got to use discernment, and in what you're telling your kids. Be able to talk to them about everything, but they're on the level. They're not on your level yet. It's
easier to see that from an 8-year-old standpoint than it is from a 14, 15-year-old. Because, again, I'm not going to tell y'all the story. But the story is related to college and her being aware of her surroundings, right? And so, again, definitely left out some information. But it's easier to see it when you're dealing with the 8-year-old. Oh, okay, I shouldn't say this because they're not going to understand this. But, growing up until 14, 15, 16, they can kind of understand a lot.
I think discernment is one of the things you have to be attentive to, but I think it's also about you can be transparent and not disclose everything. You can communicate a story and not provide every single detail of an event. It doesn't make the experience any less transparent. I think when you're talking about transparency, it's when you omit information for fear of judgment towards yourself, and you try to, when you're talking about withholding transparency, it's because you don't want to be misseen or misheard as something other. Transparency means that I acknowledge that I didn't make the best decision at that point. That's what transparency means. It means that I'm not trying to withhold this information because I want to influence your perception. I'm allowing you to see that, where I am now is not always where I've been, right? And I think age is important, but even at 14, there are things at 14 that you don't understand from a college perspective, because at 14 you get told to get up and go to school. At 18, 19, 21 in college, nobody's telling you to get up, right? You have to be able to manage that yourself. And there are a lot of things that my 18-year-old or my 14-year-old self would not have understood what 20-year-old me, sophomore at Lander, understood. And now things that 20-year-old D understood, 34-year-old D, I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's a whole different level. Like, I really wish I could go back and be 20-year-old D again, sitting in the classroom. Like, if that was the easiest thing I had to get up with, is to get up and go to class, I would do that. Like, if I could go back and just chill, going in the room, turning the light on, not seeing a light bill, going to the caf, just food spread everywhere.
Taking naps in the middle of the day.
Taking naps in the middle of the day.
In the middle of the day.
I'm complaining because I'm going to sit in a classroom, sit down at a chair and write. That's what I'm doing.
Kill to do that now.
Right. And that's just the experience of it. And I think even when we're talking about little kids, it's not about omitting that, but I think sometimes we put so much pressure on, we want our kids to be the next genius sometimes. And I think that's where you have some of this issue from, because we try to give them too much too soon. Like, I'll never forget a parent telling me, like, I teach my child, she don't got friends. And I was like, we don't teach our children that, right? You know what I'm saying? We teach them how to be what a friend looks like. You know what I'm saying? And they will choose that. But we can't teach them that nobody's their friend, because now we gonna have them questioning everybody they see. Eventually, what do you hope to be to them? You know what I'm saying? A part of their friends. You know, parent first, but friend too.
It's definitely about balance, because if you go that route of, like you say, you don't have friends, now you're not trusting anybody.
Right.
Or if you go the route of, make sure you surround yourself with a lot of friends. Now they think they got to have a bunch of friends. Like you got to have a balance. You guys just can't give them one side of it. So what would you say, like how should students find you as a school, or find any school counselor? Like I know you're in the elementary, but I'm pretty sure you're aware of both levels, right? The other levels, middle school and high school. How are they supposed to come at a school counselor? Like if they do have issues, do they know? When I say do they know, like,
to be honest, it depends on the school counselor and what they focus on in their job. I like to be in the hallways making myself known. You're going to have some school counselors that stay in their office all the time, so kids don't know who they are, and they don't know that they can go to that person and talk to them. But myself, I go into classrooms, and see, I wear so many hats. They know I'm a school counselor, but they also know me as their testing coordinator. Like, I wear so many hats where kids just know, okay, that's Miss Norman. I know I can tell her what I need to tell her, and then you got to make sure you're working closely with teachers, too, because then teachers can say, because a lot of times the thing that aggravates me the most is teachers speaking on things with students that they should have referred to me for. Yeah. Because then we start to interject our own feelings and thoughts onto children instead of, kind of letting them lay it out. We listen, and then we trying to teach them strategies to accomplish or get over what they're doing. You got people spilling into children that shouldn't be.
Do you feel like you have? My bad, Kurt.
Go ahead, man.
Do you feel like you have that communication with the teachers, like that they are reaching out to you?
Absolutely. And what I do is I create a document where teachers can go in and fill out a form. So if they notice a child is not being themselves, or if a child comes to them with the issue and the teacher feels like it's something that needs to be uncovered behind closed doors, then they would fill out that form, and then it immediately comes to me. And when I have time, I go grab that student out of class. So I try to be very visible.
That's dope. Yeah, I feel like that constant collaboration is important between the teacher and those counselors.
Right.
Like consistent. Yeah.
So with the referrals, the teachers are the one that's doing the referral, or the student themselves can refer?
Elementary school, mainly teachers, adults in the building, even parents. Parents can call the school and say, hey, I need you to talk with my child. But you do have those kids that now they don't have a way to put it in on the computer or send me an email, but they see me in the hall and say, Ms. Norman, can you grab me today? And normally I try to fit them in. That's how they refer themselves, but mainly it comes from the teacher.
Do you ever observe? My bad, Kurt. I keep interrupting you. Don't know.
I think you do it on purpose. But go ahead.
Do you ever observe for yourself certain behaviors in children?
Absolutely.
And then go to the teacher hey, I'd like to, or do you approach the child? How do you do that?
So I do lessons as well in the classroom. And again, I try to know all students by their name and their face. I serve about 200 and almost 80 kids, which is a small amount actually. But I try to make sure that those kids know who I am. And then go from there, because relationship is key. And so if a teacher has developed a relationship with a child, they can tell me when they notice things have changed. But if a teacher hasn't developed a relationship with that child, 9 times out of 10, they're just going to ignore those signs.
Right.
So again, that collaboration piece. And you also have parents that's going to call and say, hey, my child said something that they, spoke on something that they normally wouldn't speak on. I had a parent call me and say, my child threw a temper tantrum this morning just to brush their teeth. Can you have a conversation with them? They never do anything like that. And now it might seem small, but there has to be a change in that child for them to act out when they normally wouldn't. And so my job is to pull that child and see what caused that tantrum. What was the antecedent to that behavior? And so that's mainly
how does that conversation start? With that child, then because I feel as though Because I think about, dang, if I'm a child and I'm trusting my parent, to be guiding me and whatnot, then I find out my parent telling on me.
To the school counselor.
Telling on me, you know what
They
I'm
do
saying?
it.
Like, so how do you start that type of conversation with the child? Like,
Honestly, I'd be honest. I'm like, your mom was concerned about you.
concern, okay.
Yeah, and sometimes when you live in a household with your parent, they don't always know how to approach you about some certain topics and certain behaviors, and so she knows that that's kind of what I do every day. So she kind of wanted me to help you,
So going back to your
Communicate
mom's
that.
concern, that's where it's coming from.
right,
Yeah.
concern standpoint.
You said you had about 280 something students, right? Mm-hmm. And you said that's a low amount.
Yeah,
So
I'm
most counselors have higher than that.
Yes. So like elementary, in our district, all elementary schools only have one school counselor in the building, and I'm the smallest elementary school with 200 and almost 80 kids.
In an ideal situation, what would that look like? And like, what I guess would be I don't know if I want to say reasonable, but what should school counselors have? What kind of?
The ratio should be 1 to 250.
Okay.
So mine isn't that bad, but like you got some larger elementary schools where they're serving 500 and 600 kids.
Wow. Mm-hmm. And is that like are people not wanting to be school counselors? That's why it's so high. Like, or is there a high turnover for this particular field?
Actually, it's not. People get in school counseling and they stay counselors for years. The biggest thing is the school and the districts aren't hiring those positions. They're not using the funds to have more counselors within the building. So like a school with 600 kids, they should at least have 2, maybe 3 counselors in the building. But school districts aren't providing those positions.
So there's no mandate saying if you
have to
got
have so many.
this many need this many counselors per child.
State, no.
Oh, okay.
But as it pertains to like us counselors and our guidelines, it should be 1 to 250.
That's
But
like
they get by with it.
That's like y'all ethics or something?
Right,
Oh, okay,
right.
okay. So it's not mandated by the state that you have to have a certain amount.
Right.
Oh, wow. That's interesting. And so
That
then
is
that,
interesting.
that money then would be dispersed however the district is it the district or the school would see fit?
District. Because, you have to provide that
Wow.
opportunity, that position.
That's interesting. That's really, I didn't know that. That's interesting. I guess that's one of the things you could fight for if you're a parent and you're going to school boards. We listen to school board meetings. That might be one of the things, if that's important to you, that we need to ask or see about when we are voting for people for school, for the school board, or if we even go into those meetings.
I agree.
Did you have something, Josh? You
I had a question, but I'm gonna let you ask yours first because
Go
I've been
ahead.
beating you to the punch.
Nah, go ahead, man.
I was going to ask, so that solution-focused approach was as I was looking at the notes, that was really, just really interested me. So I'm interested in how does that look dealing with elementary school children, that solution-focused approach for you as a school counselor?
Or do you even use that approach?
I take
Yeah,
bits and
I'm
pieces
sorry.
from a lot of different things. I got like a congruent of things going on. But solution folks, mainly brief. I don't provide ongoing counseling to students. Not only do I not have time, but that's not what I'm specialized in. So a lot of things I'm doing crisis management. That's brief. Conflict resolution, but it's brief. Versus a mental health counselor, they can be brief as well. However, theirs is more individualized because you know who you gonna see, but I don't know who might come to my office that day with a crisis or a conflict. So I have to be brief in my counseling, and so that's where that solution focus piece comes in. Not so much as looking ahead, let's focus on what we got going on right now and what strategies can we use right now to fix your issue that you're dealing with right now.
I got you.
How I can get you back to class today?
Right.
Understood.
Yeah.
I understand. It's different than how you would assess something in your role. I understand.
So, what are some of the heavier problems that I'm not going to say you deal with because I don't want to pinpoint your school, but like from my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, you just went through like a training or something like a couple of weeks ago. What are things that I guess school counselors are focused on? What problems? No, not what they focus on. What problems do they see in schools when it comes down to kids?
Suicide. Elementary.
Wow.
So and bullying. Those are the two top things right now, in which people think bullying leads to that suicide piece. But the misunderstanding is parents call about bullying and saying that they don't want their child to be bullied because now they're having suicidal thoughts. It's not bullying, because they got to understand the definition of bullying.
Which you want to give it to us?
Bullying is when someone is harassing you repeatedly. It's not, oh, they called me a name today, they're bullying me. Or, they pushed me out my chair today. That's not bullying me. Now, if they come in and do it every single day, now that's bullying. And we don't really see bullying. So it's at home, that conversation that those parents at home making them children feel like they're being bullied in school, and then which leads to negative thoughts about themselves. And so, it's all about that communication piece. Let's talk about what all that really means.
Is there a way for school counselors to have, I guess, trainings with parents?
Absolutely. I mean that's part of our job, but it's just hard sometimes to fit that in. And I will say we do simple things like sending out flyers monthly, brochures and things, and making sure that we're available to parents, letting them know our contact information. But yeah, we should be holding parent nights where we provide different resources and information to parents on how to deal with their children at home. Absolutely.
So parents can come to you like the kids could?
Absolutely.
And say, hey, I need help with parenting, or I need help doing this. They can come. They can stop you and say, hey, can you help me with this?
They can, but they won't see me for that. I have someone within the district that's a parent coach
So you
that I
would
can refer them to.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you, in addition to bringing awareness and education, you can resource out, or you can refer them to somebody.
Right.
Provide resources for them to
Right.
address whatever they got going on. Okay. Anybody? Did y'all have anything else? Because you covered a lot in a short span of time, and I don't think I got nothing. Did anybody have anything? Josh, you got something that you looking up over there that you want to share with
I was
everybody?
just looking. No, I think it's been good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You sure?
Yeah.
Because you've been cutting me off.
We'll have her back on again if so.
Jewel, what would be something you would give to parents when it, I guess from your standpoint, being in the school and you seeing the school from your area, from your side of it, what would you give parents? What would you encourage parents to do, say, look for? What would be your advice to parents? Your closing advice to parents in general?
Open dialogue with their children. No matter how uncomfortable the conversation may be, some things need to be talked about. And parents a lot of times shy away from those things, but those are the things that I think parents sometimes have a false sense of what's really going on behind those school doors. Kids are exposed to many different things because you have so many kids coming from so many different backgrounds that's introducing your child to things that you are completely oblivious about. So the things that you see on social media, the things that you see on TV, really you need to be having that conversation with your child about it. Because 9 times out of 10, they already know. They've already been introduced to it. So I just think open dialogue, communication, all of that.
Joe, I want to say, I think that's a reason that parent training or something somebody said is would be really beneficial, because I know some people, I'm scared of their children going to them.
Yeah, because they're not providing that safe space.
Yeah, because they won't provide this safe space, exactly. Their experiences, things that they've gone through, and maybe how they were brought up. I'm just kind of fearful about if that child is going to feel confident, really exposed, and exactly how they're going to convey that to that child. It can be kind of scary.
What their response is going, what the parents' response
What their response is going to
Okay.
be. Yeah. Like we talked about some advice. I think somebody mentioned earlier some advice. It might have been last episode. I don't know that that a parent gave their child. You said something, D, earlier. Well,
And one thing you got to know about me, baby, if I said it once, I probably
it's gone. yeah.
But going back to that open dialogue, and I don't. It's a heavy topic, and we had a whole episode on suicide, right? So when you said two of the things is bullying and suicide, and then you're also saying have open dialogue. How can we have open dialogue about suicide? And I'm not going to put all the pressure on you, but I would like for all of us to kind of chime in on this. And for me, first of all, I'm trying to think, have I had the conversation? I don't know if I had the conversation with my kids verbatim about it, like suicide. I'm not sure. But if I'm going to have that discussion, I'm just going to come with it. All right, we're going to talk about this today. What do you think about it? What are your thoughts? What have you seen? And now a lot of times in the past, I don't think it's directly dealing with suicide, but I have watched shows with them that have addressed certain issues. So now, after we watch the show, let's dialogue about it.
That's
right?
a very good way to get in there.
Yeah, but and there was a one on suicide not too long ago. I think it's 13 Reasons something.
Yep.
I can't remember the whole title.
Yeah.
13 Reasons Why. That would be possibly a way to kind of get in there. But what do y'all think? What's a way to have that open dialogue about suicide?
I think what you just said is a great way.
Yeah, I agree.
Watching something, a show, or you see something on social media talking about suicide, and you actually, have you heard about this? And believe it or not, a lot of times how I'm alerted to another child having suicidal thoughts is from a friend. Because, see, they already told their friend. So parents asking, not just saying, how was your day? How was your day? What did you and your friends talk about today? You know what I mean?
So
you got to dig a little deeper.
Yeah, you got to be specific to kind of get at that.
Go through that phone.
Right.
Yeah.
See what's going on.
All right. So thank you, Jewel, for coming out and being with us and enlightening us from your standpoint on counseling, solution focus, and the stuff that kids are dealing with in these schools. Did you have any parting statements that you want to share with us besides how the great working relationship that you and I have?
No, I appreciate you guys for having me. I think it is an awesome way to get the dialogue started. We come here, we bring it here, and now we got parents and people watching saying, okay, I think I need to go try that with my child. And so, that's one way to get the information out there is by having conversations like this, because we're talking about things that some people aren't even thinking about.
Yeah.
So
appreciate you for coming out, and thank everybody for listening to us. For more questions and thought-provoking material about life, health, family, culture, so on and so forth, visit Let's Talk About It on YouTube, hosted by none other than Mr. Joshua Williams.
Subscribe. There's Joshua Garvey Williams.
There it is.
Subscribe.
On all platforms, right?
Yeah, subscribe on YouTube, but definitely check it out on all platforms.
And do the same for us. Speaking with Gravity, we'll put it in the show notes. And for your event needs, please see 6-1 Event Rentals. What is 6-1 Event Rentals? All right, well, if you don't know, you need to call them so that you can just spice up your event or take it to another level. And reach out to Kodak Ready. Tell them what you do over there at Kodak Ready. Just real quick, 30 seconds.
So Kodak Ready is a consultant services that seeks to help people professionally, personally, as well as dealing with some stress and grief. I am a strategist and solution-focused approach, so yeah.
So we just talked about, even though she wouldn't say nothing, we did talk about solution focus. So if you got these crisis situations, problems, solution focus, you need to see her. And then y'all can strategize on how to reach your goal or solve the problem. Shout out to Mr. Winston for holding us down on the audio and the visual productions. Check him out on winstonjstewart.com. And thank you all for taking the time to listen to us. You could be doing anything in the world, but you chose to listen to us or watch us on YouTube, and we appreciate that. I am a therapist, but this isn't therapy. It's the podcast.